Listener discretion is advised.
You are listening to Wine and Crime, the podcast where three childhood best friends lose their damn minds. And also
where
drink
with three
wine.
childhood friends wine.
Why? Yeah, we're three childhood best friends. Wine a lot because they're tired and it's the holidays and it's, as we record this, it's December 2nd, which means I'm checked the fuck out.
Mm-hmm. I'm on vacation. I'm on break.
I'm on break, but my workload is not on break.
Mm-mm.
And that is some bullshit.
It's a bad combo.
Yeah. Well, okay, I'll do the intro for realsies for the folks that like to follow along. You are listening to Wine and Crime, the podcast where three friends chug wine, chat true crime, and unleash their worst Minnesotan accents.
Oh, yeah.
I am still Kenyan.
I'm still Lucy.
I'm Amanda, and I'm working on a hack, so don't mind me.
To not be Amanda?
She keeps saying that, and I don't know what it means.
All will be revealed.
Mm-hmm. Okay, well, in the meantime, while Amanda plots,
I don't trust you. Look at that face.
Hurry! The hack is almost ready.
We have a very special fan pick this week, brought to you by our fan picker, Gemma Maslin. You're a Maslin, Gemma. And Gemma has selected the topic of Kiwi Crimes. So not the fruit or the bird, but
the place,
the
kinda.
people related to the place of New Zealand.
Yeah.
We'll get to it.
All right. So
But yeah, New
kia
Zealand.
ora, Gemma.
Yeah.
So there is an existing podcast called Kiwi Crimes, and we are shouting them out because we're not trying to rip their shit. This is just one episode.
Yeah.
And they are Australian journalists. Australian?
Yeah. I think they're originally Australian, but they like cover
Live in
cases
New Zealand?
and or live in New Zealand. Yeah. Which I guess is common.
Can you believe that people can be born in one place and live in another place?
Yeah.
The audacity.
Like
How dare they?
a not super far removed other place.
Yeah.
They should build that oceanic wall.
Yeah.
So shout out the podcast Kiwi Crimes, and they cover unsolved cases. So that's really great.
Yeah. And also terrible for my mental health because I need everything wrapped up in a neat little bow, like this hack. So
We are crushing it. Amanda, what is our wine crime pairing for Kiwi Crime?
okay, our wine crime pairing, we obviously have to drink a nice New Zealand Sauv Blanc.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Just
yeah.
the best. Just
Yep.
My
mother's
fave.
milk.
Mother's milk. I had one on hand. It's called Imaginary Friend. I will show you the bottle shortly, but I can't quite yet because of the hack I'm working on, and it's almost ready. But
Are you coding? What the fuck? Is this a Dungeons and Dragons thing? What the fuck are you doing over there?
you're gonna feel so foolish when I finally reveal what I'm
Will
doing.
it be
over
worth
here.
it?
That remains to be seen. So while I'm continuing with this hack, I will let you know a couple of fun facts about New Zealand Sauv Blanc. So it's almost certainly named after the French word for wild, which is sauvage. Oh!
What the fuck was that?
It hacked!
Oh no!
Okay, well, I wish that had happened on camera, but
Okay,
somebody
watch your
tagged me.
eyes. Something's gonna happen.
Tagged me in a TikTok where someone opened a bottle of wine with a hair straightener. So I have been working on this bottle of wine with my hair straightener for 20 minutes. And it just exploded.
Oh my
It
god!
exploded the cork, but it didn't actually open the
It
bottle.
exploded the top of the cork. And then did it hit the ceiling?
Do you need some spackle?
Nah, it's fine.
Do you need protective goggles?
Well, now you're fucked because there's half a cork in the neck of that bottle.
I'm not fucked because I have my wine key here, which I brought as backup because I had a feeling this would not work the way I hoped it would. So I came prepared. Anyway, Sauvignon Blanc
Hack.
originated in Bordeaux. This is what I get when people tag me in TikTok and I want to try something cool on a video episode
Watch
and
your
it just
face.
fails.
I'm very
It's not-
concerned.
It's not going to go anywhere now.
It might. You don't
also
know
like-
physics.
Well, yeah,
you?
you're right. I don't know physics.
I'm doing this. I'm holding my hand up and staying away.
Yeah,
Even though
or before we
You're
recorded,
700
she's
miles
like,
away.
I'm scared. And I was like, you're hundreds of miles away from me. What could you possibly be
can never
scared
be
of?
too careful when you're already blind in one eye.
Anyway, Sauvignon Blanc originated in Bordeaux and initially gained recognition as an integral part of the world-famous Bordeaux wines. Sauv then traveled from its home of France to New Zealand, where in 1969, Kiwi winemaker Ross Spence planted the first vines in Waimaku, West Auckland. Marlborough Cottondon it says Cottondon, but I think maybe it meant cotton. I didn't write that. I copied and pasted this, so.
They really cottoned on.
Yeah, in 1973, and New Zealand
Cotton
quickly
up.
rose to worldwide wine glory with its punchy, zesty, never-before-seen Sauvignon Blanc style.
Wow.
And
Well,
if you don't
we are-
have a wine key, you can open it
With a hair straightener.
a hair straightener.
that is the messiest,
If you're
fucking
really careful.
worst pop I've ever seen in my life.
This might be the worst.
The cork is just crumbling.
John, when you edit this video, I'm going to need that pop in slow-mo. Holy shit.
She's still going. She's still working.
Try the straightener again.
No, I turned it off. Here we go.
If only it was a Dyson.
Nice pop.
it didn't even pop at
Well,
all.
it popped earlier.
You just lifted it out. Oh.
Cheers.
All right, folks. Well, that was the episode. Special thanks.
Oh no. Well, I have an absolute grapefruit paloma.
Nice.
Haven't tasted it yet.
I wish that I was drinking a New Zealand Sauvignon Blanc because it is one of the world's best treasures.
Ooh, this
It's
is
really
good
good
too.
when it's poured out through a hot neck.
I was gonna say, didn't it heat it all up?
That is so gross.
This hack might not be worth it.
I'm done with TikTok. Don't tag me in anything on TikTok ever again.
Yeah, because she'll do it, but she'll hate it.
I hate that. Was terrible. And my arm hurts from squeezing my everything about that sucked. Anyway, next.
All right. Well, moving
Passes
on.
through a hot neck.
I'm trying.
As it turns out, that hack was 100% worth it.
Tried to do something fun.
I'm fucking
Straighten your
crying.
baby hairs.
I'm literally crying.
Trying to have a fun surprise for your friends and your Patreon subscribers, and
Oh, good.
all I got was a broken cork and some hot wine.
All right.
I'm deeply entertained. If you're not donating at the appropriate tier on Patreon, you gotta get it.
Oh,
Does
You
this
gotta
look
get it.
good?
oh my God! You look like me in 7th grade.
Just straight string bangs.
super straight fried bangs on the side.
Thin.
Really fried. Oh my God. Okay.
There's my lock.
This side. I'm sorry. This is terrible audio. I'm
This
sure.
is horrible. Oh my
Okay,
God.
But it's funny video. Okay. Lucy, oh my God. What is our background and probably not psych for Kiwi Crimes? I gotta get my shit together.
While I tend my burns with a salve.
On top of everything else, you burned yourself.
This crispy of Blanc.
It's fucking refreshing.
With maybe some chunks of cork in it.
I am a professional. If I break a cork, I am not going to get it into the bottle.
Hints of burnt wood and
Nothing.
hair.
Nothing in there. Nothing.
Oh, God. Okay, here we go.
Okay. Woo, woo.
Wow, that was a ride. All right.
Told
New
you it'd be
Zealand
worth it.
is an island country in the South Pacific Ocean, the southwesternmost part of Polynesia. Its nearest neighbor is Australia, which is
Mate.
more than 1,000 miles northwest of New Zealand. It's really
Wow.
just on its own out
Yeah.
there.
It's kind of chilling, just dangling on the edge of the world.
Yeah.
Just like us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dangling on the
Mentally.
edge.
Mentally, physically, emotionally, and spiritually.
Mm-hmm.
The country The country is comprised of two main islands, the North and the South Island, and over 700 small islands. I didn't realize there were that many little islands.
I didn't either attach or like around New Zealand.
Mm-hmm. And
Right.
some of these islands are hundreds of miles from the main group. The capital city is Wellington, and the largest urban area is Auckland. Both are located on the North Island. And New Zealand administers the South Pacific island group of Tokelau and claims a section of the Antarctic continent. Also didn't know that.
That's very cool.
Mm-hmm. Also, I'm going to say this at the top, at least for my segment, and Amanda's already attempted, there are a lot of like Maori words,
Maori.
Yep. Such
We're going
as
to do
that.
our best. We're going to do
doing
our
our-
best.
We're going to do our
Doing our
best.
best.
I know like 5 of them. So if
Mhm.
any of those come up, I'll be real obnoxious about it.
I'm going to
Can't-
teach you
can't
one
wait.
at the end of my segment.
I spent a month in New Zealand my senior year of college, which was incredible and amazing. And it's such a beautiful place.
Mhm.
And then I was like on a high from doing that. And so I wrote my undergrad senior thesis about indigenous languages and indigenous public television channels and whether or not they promote indigenous languages. And one of those languages that I studied
know
was
that.
Yeah.
No idea.
I know. It was really random. It was really out of nowhere. I had studied like the EU all of college.
Mhm.
And then I got to senior year and I was
You were
like,
over
I
it.
can't.
Mhm.
I need something totally different that I have no business studying. And so that is what I chose from my thesis.
I do remember at one point you were pondering a Maori tattoo, and you're like, I think it would be a lot to get it on my chin. It's like,
Well,
get
that
it on your
was-
fucking face.
I wasn't ever going to get it on my face. First of all, that would be very
Inappropriate.
appropriative.
Mhm.
Yeah. No, but that's where Maori women traditionally got
Mhm.
tattooed, not
Mhm.
fucking white ladies who
Mhm.
spend 1 month in New Zealand. But it's just a very cool place, and the Te Reo Maori is very interesting and cool. And like I said, I know approximately 5 words, so I will do my best.
Well, I want to go because it sounds real pretty.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's stunning.
Okay, so New Zealand administers the South Pacific island group of Tokelau and claims a section of the Antarctic continent. Already said that. New and the Cook Islands are self-governing states in free association with New Zealand. So they've got a lot going on in terms of like control, like governance.
Okay.
It's more complicated than, say, in the United States. They've and all like 700 little islands. Like, ugh, there's just a lot going on.
Okay.
I didn't know
She
that.
gags.
No, it's just
Ugh.
I mean, I didn't know that either.
yeah. So like Kenyon just said, New Zealand is fucking gorgeous. It has active volcanoes, spectacular caves, deep glacier lakes, verdant valleys, dazzling fjords, long sandy beaches, and spectacular snow-capped peaks.
Wow.
Fucking incredible.
They filmed Lord of the Rings there.
They did.
Mhm.
And the director, what's his name, is from New Zealand.
Peter Jackson, I think.
Mm-hmm. I think so.
You nailed it.
So because these islands are so fucking remote, They were actually the last large habitable landmass to be settled by humans anywhere on the globe.
Wow, cool.
So here's a quote from my lover, Encyclopedia Britannica. No precise archaeological records exist of when and from where the first human inhabitants of New Zealand came, but it is generally agreed that Polynesians from eastern Polynesia in the Central Pacific reached New Zealand in the early 13th century. Not that fucking long ago.
No.
Right.
There has been much speculation on how these people made the long ocean voyage. I believe it was the sailing crimes episode
Yeah, we
Yeah.
talked about that.
where I
About the
talked a lot
canoes.
about the canoes and like how they were able to go that fucking far.
Right,
'Cause
with
it
like a
gives me-
cow on their canoe.
It gives me
Multiple.
With
such the
everything they
heaves.
would need to
Yeah.
start a new civilization.
Yeah,
which
it's nuts.
they did
And then they
with New Zealand.
tracked and can trace back their family lineage to which fucking canoe they came over on.
Yeah.
Not everyone can, obviously, but some people fucking can, and that's amazing.
Yeah.
And so, like, we were just talking about the traditional tattoos, which we'll get back to, but the tattoos are completely unique to the individual getting the tattoo. So a lot of the design has to do with the storytelling of, like, who their people are, where they came from, potentially what their original group was.
They're fuckapapa. That's one of my words. Check.
Fucka papa.
Fuckapapa.
Okay.
It's. I think it means like your family group. I think, and so it comes from like which canoe or boat you were brought over on, and some people who are like very well trained and well versed in the tattooing arts can like almost read somebody's tattoo designs and like know what that tattoo is trying to convey.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah. Also, I learned that PA is a word for their like family, like home, abode.
Abode. I was like, adobe.
Abode. They were like kind of half underground, cool little, they were like huts kind of, but those are called pa. And so, yeah,
Cool.
a lot of native New Zealanders will know where their family's pa is located.
Very cool.
Okay. Yeah, the Maori people are really so I learned a lot of cool stuff.
They're fucking amazing.
Okay, so there has been much speculation on how these people made the long ocean voyage. People from Polynesia are known to have sometimes set sail in search of new lands, their canoes well provisioned with food and plants for cultivation, and it is likely that the discoverers of New Zealand were on such a voyage. It is probable that few canoes actually made the dangerous journey, but the people from even one of these large double-hulled craft could have produced the Maori population that the Europeans encountered in New Zealand in the 17th and 18th centuries. So with them, they brought the dog and the rat and several plants, including the kumara, which is a variety of sweet potato, taro, and yam.
Yum.
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 For the next several hundred years, the Maori developed their unique culture, notable in the arts of war, canoe construction, because they're obviously fucking experts at it, building, weaving, and agriculture. So they thrived.
Yeah. They did it all.
And because they kind of got going within the past 700 years, the Maori culture is actually one of the youngest cultures on the planet.
Cool.
I mean, there's a lot. It's like, when does like a culture really start? You know, like how far back do you want to trace it? Because like there's a ton of overlap with Hawaiians.
Polynesian.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
So,
I think there's some level of differentiation, of distinction between the cultures that they sort of stemmed from and the
Right.
ones that they developed. But I'm also not an anthropologist. The first European to arrive in New Zealand was a Dutch sailor named Abel Jansoen Tasman,
Wow.
who sighted the coast of Westland, which is northwestern South Island, in December 1642. So New Zealand, remember when we were doing Nordic crimes or Scandinavian scandals, whatever the fuck we did recently.
Mhm.
Zealand is a place in Scandinavia. And so this guy was a Dutch sailor, so that's why New Zealand is called New Zealand.
Got it.
Something like that. His sole attempt to land brought only a clash with a South Island tribe during which several of his men were killed. After he got back, this coast was added to European sailing charts and was thought to be the possible western edge of a great southern continent. In 1769, James Cook, ever heard of him?
Mhm.
He was the same-
James Cook?
He was the same guy who first wanted to colonize Botany Bay, which is now Sydney, Australia.
Wow.
Yeah, we talked about that guy.
Mm-hmm.
So he circumnavigated the two major islands and mapped them out for the British. So colonizer, yes, led to mass bloodshed, all that bad stuff. However, to his credit, he and naturalist Joseph Banks published a journal called A Voyage Towards the South Pole and Round the World in 1777, which stressed the intelligence and capabilities and establishments of the native people and probably had a hand in later colonizing efforts to be somewhat less clashy.
Somewhat. Everything's
Somewhat.
relative, right? Yeah.
Yeah, but it's not like they were going there, these new British and Dutch, when the whole gang came, they weren't necessarily under the impression that these people were quote unquote savages or they at least had sort of a heads up that they were. Do you know what I'm saying?
I mean, yes, colonization is not good or pretty business, so we don't need to
And there's a lot of bad shit went after it.
Yeah, it's
Well, of
great
course.
we got
At
some
one
good
point,
records.
I'm not saying this was all
but
puppies and roses by any means. But he was one of the first people on the mainland to make contact with these tribes, and he went back to the UK or to Denmark or wherever he came from and published this journal saying it's not like that. So
This white guy was impressed by the Maoris and then
just
still
saying.
invaded. Yeah.
yeah.
they're
Colonization is
impressive.
not. Yeah, they are. Okay, so why are people from New Zealand called Kiwis? I always thought it was because kiwis, the fruit, came from New Zealand.
nope.
So they are grown in New Zealand. They're a major export of New Zealand. However, kiwis are native to mainland China and Taiwan. And also, the fruit is not the reason we call New Zealanders Kiwis. They are actually called that after the kiwi bird, which is any of 5 species of flightless birds belonging to the genus Apteryx and found in New Zealand. So
bubbies.
the name kiwi, I have photos on the drive of kiwis.
They're so
They're
cute.
so cute.
They're really cute. They look like guinea pigs,
Yeah,
Yeah.
with wings.
barely.
Little angels.
Yeah,
Their wings are that long. They're evolutionarily stunted.
They're
so
perfect.
cute. And aren't they really shy and also nocturnal? So there are all these zoos with protected kiwis, whatever, and you maybe get a glimpse of one every once in a while.
I'm about to tell you all about kiwis.
Oh, okay.
Oh, that's funny.
So the name kiwi is a Maori word referring to the shrill call of the male. So it probably sounds like kiwi. That's my impression.
Okay.
Nailed it.
Kiwis are grayish brown birds, the size of a chicken. Kiwis are also really fucking weird looking for birds. So their vestigial wings, meaning they're sad, crumpled, don't even work wings, are hidden within their plumage. Their nostrils are at the tip rather than the base of their long, flexible bill.
Well, all the better to sniff with.
Right. So
I
you can get
guess.
down in those holes and find where all the good bugs are.
Yeah. Their
I
feathers,
assume.
the feathers, which have no after shaft, I don't know what that means, are soft and hair-like. Their legs are stout and muscular, and each of the 4 toes has a large claw.
I'm looking
That's
up
how they defend
aftershaft. I have a
themselves.
theory that it's how usually on a bird's feather, the shaft that's in the bird that you pluck out spans the length of the feather to like hold the fluff. I wonder if that long part of it is gone. I'm Googling it.
Well, there's
idea.
pictures of kiwis on the drive, and you can see that they have like longish
It
kind
almost
of
looks
feathers.
like fur.
Yeah.
Their feathers
The
look kind of like fur.
That they're soft and
After
hair-like.
shaft
Mhm.
or after feather that arises at the base of the vein. The after shaft has the appearance of a second, smaller feather growing from the base of the first. Down feathers have loose webbed barbs, all rising from the tip of a very short shaft. So it's like that down. They don't have the long piece.
Oh,
So
it's just the downy
base,
part.
It's just the base part.
Yep, the base holds what grows out, like the downy mixed feather. It doesn't have the long, like, backbone. I was
Well, like-
right.
So
They
like
don't-
other birds, it's like they only have like an undercoat, like
Yeah,
for dogs.
because they
like,
don't
And
fly.
they don't fly, so
Yeah.
they don't need the long feathers.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
This was my favorite part. Their eyes are small and inefficient in full daylight.
Same.
Their ear openings are large and well developed, and very long bristles, perhaps tactile, occur at the base of the bill.
Wow.
Ooh, kind of like
they like
whiskers.
moving whiskers.
Yeah. Weird.
They sleep in their burrows in the forest during the day, and they forage for berries, worms, insect, and larvae at night.
Cute.
Adorable.
I think they're just so cute.
I'm
I
adding
are
some
so
more
cute.
pictures of kiwis to your photos. 'Cause
Please do.
They're just really
You can
cute.
never have enough.
I know. One of them is a diagram of a kiwi bird, but it's like cut.
like
open.
a kiwi.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
that was
cute.
cute. Okay, so here are some notable kiwis. The first one is my favorite because I like history. So Sir Edmund Hillary, along with Sherpa Tenzing Norgay, climbed Mount Everest in 1953, and this was one of the defining moments of the 20th century. So Hillary said later, in some ways, this is so cute and like humble. In some ways, I believe that I epitomize the average New Zealander. I have modest abilities. I combine these with a good deal of determination, and I rather like to succeed.
Cute.
It's cute. There's also a picture of those two on the drive, which will be on the blog. They just look like they have a really good little bromance going.
Mm-hmm.
Tenzin is so cute.
Yeah.
He's so cute.
He's
I looked at a lot of pictures of those two. That was my favorite, but he's adorable in every photo.
he's really handsome.
Mm-hmm. Lord, the singer, is from New Zealand.
Yeah.
Russell
I think
Crowe.
a little overrated.
Eh,
Russell Crowe, super overrated.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Lord, not my fave.
Yeah, I think she's really big in New Zealand.
Mm-hmm.
Keith Urban? I didn't know he was from fucking New Zealand.
What?
There's no way.
That can't
Yeah.
be right. Did you triple check that?
He's American.
Keith
His music lied to me.
Is he
He's
the one
an
married
American.
to what's her name?
Nicole Kidman.
Yeah. Okay, well then that
Oh,
kinda
it says
makes-
he's an Australian American.
Yeah, that sounds more right.
No.
None of it sounds right. Did he just get Australian dual
He
citizenship?
was
through-
born in Whangarei, New Zealand on October 26, 1967.
Okay.
Wow.
He later moved to Queensland, Australia.
Okay, so he's born in New Zealand, but mostly grew up in Australia.
None
How
of it's
dare
right.
he move?
I know.
He's a red-blooded American.
Another shapeshifter.
yeah.
Yeah. Xena warrior princess Lucy Lawless is from New
Fuck
Zealand.
yeah.
That I knew. Keep thinking these are cookie crumbs. It's just cork.
I think I realized my sexuality with Xena warrior princess.
Oh, yeah. It's a lot more fluid than we realized.
Mm-hmm.
She's buff.
Yep.
She's Lucy Flowerless.
She's Lucy Flowers.
And Gabrielle. Her
Yes.
little.
And when they had definite chemistry and
Yeah.
almost hooked up in like 8 different
It was
seasons.
like
Hot.
jumping off the
Like,
screen.
Everyone wants to talk about Ross and Rachel or Sam and Diane.
No.
Diane, will they, won't they's?
No.
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 Xena and what's her
Xena.
name?
And I
Mhm.
think it's Gabrielle.
Yeah, it was Xena and Gabrielle.
Yeah.
That's all I need.
They're hot.
Mm-hmm.
Can we get some fanfic erotica?
Yeah.
I'm sure it exists.
Oh, I'm sure it's out there. We should
Just
have a
Google
party.
it.
Have you seen all those parties where it's like dress as your sexual awakening?
No.
You haven't seen that? It's like a trend now where everybody
That
just comes
sounds
dressed
fun.
as in costume as their whatever their earliest sexual awakening crush was.
Incredible.
I think
Love
we
that.
should do it.
Yeah.
It'd be
That
fun.
could be our PowerPoint night.
Mine might
Yeah.
be Devon Sawa, though.
That's fine.
That's a good one.
Dress as Devon Sawa.
Yeah.
I think he follows me on Twitter. I definitely follow him.
Mine would
Okay.
probably be Benny the Jet Rodriguez
Ooh, that's a good one.
from Sandlot.
That's a good one.
Yeah, okay.
All right, I'll check to see if Devon Sawa's following me later. Okay, and my favorite. Also, I will say there were a lot of like quote unquote famous New Zealanders who I was not familiar with, so I left them off the list.
Yeah, fuck
Sorry.
'em.
If I don't know them, are they even really famous?
I think they're famous on that end of the world. You're lucky I included Lord.
Wow.
Jacinda, or is it Jacinda?
I think it's Jacinda.
Jacinda Ardern, who's the current Prime Minister of New Zealand. I know you've heard of her.
She's a badass. She's
She's
cool.
a fucking badass. She gained national and international attention, winning the New Zealand 2017 general election to become the world's youngest female head of government at 37 years old.
She is 3 years. Well, she was 3 years older than us.
Yeah. So
I have to go.
She's 8 years old. She's 7 years older than us.
That's
Now, yeah,
She's
No.
a badass, and
she's
it gets better.
running a country.
Her unexpected popularity during this time was dubbed Jacinda Mania, with Vogue magazine naming her the anti-Trump of our times.
I love that.
So we've got my fucking vote. She also like killed it with the COVID restrictions.
Yep.
They're like, they don't have COVID anymore.
Yep. They
Yeah.
basically like didn't have it.
Right.
It's amazing.
The announcement of her pregnancy a few months after her election garnered even more attention, and the birth of her daughter meant that the prime minister was only the second head of government to give birth while in office.
Wow. Like ever anywhere?
Yeah.
Wow. I mean, it makes sense.
I mean, there have only been women in office for so long. So.
Right.
Okay, so I want
Cool.
to finish out my segment with some interesting facts that you may not know about the Maori culture. And these are from nzpocketguide.com.
Cool.
A fave.
A fave.
I'll go to.
A bookmark.
Always
book
consult the
right.
NZ Pocket Guide before any other source.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so tamoko is the traditional art of tattooing in the Maori culture. They are unique on each individual because they show that person's genealogy, knowledge, and social status with their tribe, also called their iwi. Iwi?
Yep.
Moko was originally done with pigment on the end of a sharp bone hit into the skin. However, nowadays, most Maori people opt for more modern methods of tattooing. And like Kenyon said, is it just the women who traditionally get it on their chins?
Well, men get their whole face, and then they can also get, I mean, basically most of their bodies, like thighs are really common, and just, yeah, depending on your age and your kind of status in the community, and nowadays, like whether or not you want to tattoo yourself, you know, it depends. But like traditionally, like older Maori men in the community would be tattooed like most of their bodies, and then women, it would be chin and I think feet.
Okay.
I think. Yeah.
But the very visible tattooing is very much a cultural thing.
Yeah.
So
And
if you go to New
some-
Zealand on vacation and you're tempted to get a tattoo, maybe don't.
Do you that was why I was there for a month, was a documentary about white people, like tourists, European and American tourists going to New Zealand and getting traditional Maori tattoos, and like whether or not that is okay ever, or if it's always problematic, and like what does it mean for both sides in that exchange and whatever. So it's definitely a complicated topic, but it's a fascinating tradition.
Maybe do your research, ask around. Ask all
Don't
kinds
just
of people.
travel to New Zealand and
to get tattooed.
find a tattoo artist and be
Well, and,
I want this.
Also,
Because it would be
yeah.
well, I'm trying to think of an example of an analogy for that, because each design is so specific to that person, or it should be.
Yeah. It's not just a tattoo.
Right.
If you want to go get a tattoo, we're talking about these specific types of tattoos.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And,
It's a very
Maori
traditional
people,
and
just
sacred
like
tradition.
every culture, every people, not a monolith. So what one person may feel about, what one Maori person may feel about white people getting those tattoos could be totally different from what another Maori person feels about it.
Yeah, there are some Maori tattoo artists who will tattoo
Mhm.
white people, and it's no problem. There are also so the word for white New Zealanders is Pakea,
Mm-hmm.
and there are some Pakea who are, very tuned in to the Maori, history of Maori people in New Zealand, and they're more plugged into all of that. And so some, clued in Pakea will get tamoko and it's fine. And then there are other people who are really stupid and get it like it's just a tribal tattoo.
Mm-hmm.
I think my point is the importance of these kinds of tattoos is very, very deep and complex. And if you don't understand it and you don't appreciate it, then don't go there.
Yeah.
I think that's fair to say.
Yep.
Okay. Before the European settlers arrived in New Zealand, there was no written language for Maori, otherwise known as Te Reo Maori.
Cool.
Instead, history was also taught orally through stories or depicted in carvings. And that is why Maori people are among some of the most incredible storytellers that you'll ever meet.
Neat.
I think that's cool.
That's really cool.
So let's talk briefly about the haka. We all know what that is.
Mm-hmm.
This compelling chant seen at the beginning of the New Zealand rugby games is often believed to be a war dance. While it was sometimes used for that purpose, there are actually many types of haka used for different occasions, from funerals to motivation for the tribe. I've seen it done at, on the internet at weddings.
Mm-hmm.
That guy on 90 Day Fiancé did it at the airport when he was reunited with his fiancé.
Yep.
All sorts of
Just
different.
at any significant moments in
That
life.
guy on
It's an
90 Day Fiancé.
As far as I know, it's an expression of passion,
Yeah.
and you can
It's an
have passion in a lot
expression
of different.
Of frustration over where your bags are on the carousel in that one episode of 90 Day
Oh,
Fiancé.
she
Hey,
was
if you can do it at the beginning of
embarrassed.
every sport match, you
Yeah.
can do it in other contexts than war.
Of course.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So the Maori the Maori traditionally greet each other with a hongi. I think that's how you say it. This is when two people press their foreheads and their noses briefly together, closing their eyes and breathing deeply.
Oh,
So that's how they hug each other.
it's intimate connection.
Well,
That's cool.
It represents sharing the breath of life where
Mhm.
two souls meet.
I like
It's
that.
so cool.
I just think it's really nice. So
It's way
the Maori
nicer than
culture,
what's it called? Shaking hands.
Mm-hmm.
yeah. Maori culture is super fascinating. New Zealand is absolutely on my bucket list. And I'll end with teaching you how to say goodbye, which is harera.
Oh.
Harera.
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 Nice.
Nice. Well done.
Anyway,
Cool.
bye.
Harera.
Harera, bye.
Anyway, bye.
Vaya donkey.
Ooh, bye, donkey.
Oh my God. Well done. Now I want to be in New Zealand.
Yep.
I'm not even going to ask if you're ready for my case.
Or just
because
not.
Neither of you are.
Great.
No one is.
Okay.
It's the worst.
Is this a fan pick?
It's a fan pick.
Classic.
I'd also never heard of it. And oh my God, the rage, just tee up more alcohol right now. You're gonna need it.
Ugh.
Do I have to go get more?
Yeah, you should. You
Should
should.
I?
Yeah, you should.
All right. Well, fast forward this. I'm going to get a drink. New
All right.
Zealand Sauv Blanc.
Nice.
Cute.
Good job. Okay, well, blame the fan picker, Gemma, because this is horrific.
Fucking
Great.
Gemma.
Yeah.
Fuck you, Gemma.
Oh.
Oh,
Oh.
oh.
Real
All right.
piece of shit.
No. You're very generous, Gemma. Generous.
All right. In the summer of 1993, 26-year-old. Okay, Amanda cannot handle it.
Oh my God.
Are you okay?
A sneeze just got caught in my throat,
Oh.
which was my instant karma for my tasteless joke.
Okay, so in the summer of 1993, 26-year-old New Zealander Louise Nicholas made a life-changing decision. She decided to come forward after more than a decade and report her rape at the hands of multiple police officers
Great.
Ooh.
when she was a teenager.
Mm.
So, there's some conflicting information online about how old she was when it took place, but most reports cite that she was 13 years old at the time and that it was a very brutal gang rape at the hands of multiple police officers.
Ugh.
And I don't have all the details of like what transpired,
I
but
don't think we need them.
we don't. But apparently her parents worked in like search and rescue or like volunteered in search and rescue. I'm not really sure. And so they had a lot of like police officer friends.
Okay.
And I think that's why as a 13-year-old she was like even around
Got it.
some of these officers. But I don't have that much more information besides that, because what we're really going to focus on is how the justice system failed her.
Mm-hmm.
So for years, Louise had kept the secret of her very traumatic ordeal closely guarded. But now, after becoming an adult and recently getting married and starting a family, she felt like safe enough in her life and like stable enough in her with her support system that she decided she could not live the rest of her life without attempting to bring her assailants to justice.
Mm-hmm.
So she reached out for help, and she met with a detective named John Dewar, who was in charge of New Zealand's criminal investigation branch. So like they're, you know, like you've heard of like the Georgia Bureau of da-da-da,
Right.
or whatever.
Yeah.
This is like the New Zealand, whatever.
BI.
Yeah.
New Zealand
The
B.
NZBI.
Yeah, the CIB, but it's basically that. In the city of Rotorua, which smells like rotten eggs because of all the sulfur from the hot
Oh, for the hot springs?
Mm-hmm.
I'll take it.
I'll take it.
I mean, it's
if
great.
I know there's good hot springs, it's worth it.
It's worth it. It really is. And you get used to the rotten
Yeah.
egg smell very quickly, actually.
You get nose blind.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So she meets with this detective. He's very high up, right? He's in charge of whatever this acronym.
How did she get in touch with somebody that high up? Just because she was like around the
I don't
familial
know.
connection?
I
or
don't know.
whatever?
I don't think she used the familial connection. Now she's like 26, I think, when she first reported. I don't know.
Oh, okay.
But maybe because she was accusing police officers, it got flagged up the chain.
Yeah, maybe their justice system just works better than ours.
No. Turns out, no.
Oh, okay. Never mind.
At least not then. Maybe it's better now. And she reported the details of this very vicious and horrific attack. So Louise's disclosure resulted in the arrest of one unnamed police officer for this rape. And as far as I can tell, like, I could not find the name of this first guy that was accused. And
So it like never came out.
as far as I could find,
Yeah.
there's so much on the internet about Louise because
Right.
she has become such a public figure that like I'm sure if I had done more digging, I maybe could have found it, but I didn't find this first guy's name. But we will get to more.
Okay.
So in court against this guy, she took to the stand to describe the ordeal that she had suffered before being mercilessly hounded by this guy's defense attorney, who relentlessly tried to get her to admit that she had, quote, enjoyed being raped.
Oh, no.
What the fuck?
Mm-mm.
She was 13.
And she was in court.
Mm-hmm. Well, she was an adult now in court, but no one can enjoy. It's just everything about that sentence.
That is so fucking gross. I can't take it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Yeah, this 13-year-old enjoyed being gang raped by a bunch of adult police officers.
Mm-hmm.
Ugh. In no world. No.
So Louise remembers that, quote, I absolutely felt like I was the one on trial. It was brutal. It was embarrassing. It was an emotional roller coaster. And my family suffered because of it. I didn't like seeing my mom cry. I didn't like seeing the anger on my husband's face. I was trying to support them at the expense of my own well-being. So she
Right.
like didn't feel like she could fully even
Yeah.
testify about her experience because she didn't want her loved ones
Yeah.
to have
Residual trauma.
secondary
Yeah.
trauma
Mm-hmm.
I don't
from hearing
blame
about what
her.
she went through.
Mm-hmm.
Ultimately, a mistrial was declared after Detective Dewar, the one who was supposed to be helping her, was found to have given inadmissible hearsay evidence at trial. And so a mistrial was declared because
Okay.
the detective fucked up,
Yeah.
Who was trying to help her.
who was supposed to be helping her.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
When a
But they protect their own, so
when
like,
a
who the fuck do you trust when it's the police that are harming you?
Mhm.
Where do you go?
When a second trial was convened, new details about the case emerged. When Louise had originally met with Detective Dewar, she had actually accused 3 additional officers of raping her in this brutal assault because, again, it was a gang rape,
Mm-hmm.
but at the first trial, it was only against 1 accused.
Mm-hmm.
And so these other 3 officers that she had accused weren't on trial.
Right.
And, you know, whatever, for whatever reason. And this assault also involved their, quote, violating her with a police baton.
Ugh.
So, in addition to the unnamed officer whom Detective Dewar arrested, she also named 3 additional assailants, and we do have their names. So Clint Rickards, Bob Sholem, and Brad Shipton, and their photos of these fucking douchebags are on the drive.
Ew.
And they
Never
will be on the
trusted
blog.
Clint.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-mm. Mm-mm.
So in the first trial, Louise had not been allowed to mention the involvement of these 3 additional officers in her assault. So then how do you fucking tell what happened
Right.
accurately if you're not allowed to mention,
The details of what happened.
right?
Fully.
If you're assaulted by multiple people and you're only allowed to mention one assailant, how can you possibly give
Mm-hmm.
an accurate description of the events?
Right.
But in the second trial against this first unnamed guy, her statements describing the other 3 officers were declared admissible as evidence. So in the second trial, she is able to mention these other 3 fuckfaces.
Mm-hmm.
So was it just the fact that she couldn't mention their names specifically in the first trial, or she couldn't bring up the fact that there were 4 total assailants?
I don't know.
Hopefully the first and not the latter.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Because the first is like, there's nothing, you can't
Right.
describe what happened at all.
Right.
I understand if you can't use the names of the other people who haven't gotten to trial
Right.
yet.
Yeah, so
like,
they could be tried separately.
yeah, if
Right.
they're being tried separately, that makes sense.
Yeah, being raped by one person is different than being raped by 4 people at the same time.
I still don't think that. I think you could keep the names of the unofficially co-accused out of the press and like maintain their anonymity that way, but I don't think you should tell the victim what they can and cannot say on the stand. You know, like if they know the names of their rapists, they should be able to say those names on the witness stand, because otherwise you're trying to juggle 2 things when when you should just be able to be focusing on answering the questions truthfully. You know what I mean?
But we also know that there are a lot of people who wrongly make it all the way to court with charges, and so like I get what you're saying, and I do agree, but I just think it's a lot harder than like it's much more nuanced because of the way that the justice system works, or it's supposed to work.
Right.
Where like you also don't want to be using the names, and I mean, there's really if the names are coming out in court, then that's going to be entered into public record.
Right.
So like it's kind of impossible to maintain a suspect's anonymity in the press if they've made it all the way to court.
I just don't think the onus should be on the victim.
No, of course
to
not.
maintain their anonymity. I think it should be up to the court, and if you have to come up with, you know, ways to do that, like maybe the press only gets, you know, maybe, you know, the press are not allowed to publish the names.
Right,
you know, like
right.
things
There
like
should be
that.
like law in place that protects the victim.
If things can be like stricken from the record, and like juries are expected to ignore that kind of like certain facts in a case, then yeah, I agree with you. The press should be like, hey, do not publish the name.
Right. I just don't think that should be on the victim. I don't think you should be able to tell the victim, like, you can't say this and you can't say that. But tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth.
Yeah.
Right.
Except their names. So help you God.
Except their names and the fact that they're police officers. So she's able to mention these other accused, whatever, in this second trial. But then, once again, fucking Detective Dewar gave inadmissible hearsay evidence on the stand.
Jesus
and
Christ.
another
What is wrong with this
mistrial
guy?
was declared.
Well, he's
A second fucking mistrial. This is so expensive
he knows
and time
what he's
consuming.
doing. He's protecting that thin blue line.
It's disgusting.
Yeah. So in the third trial against this unnamed officer, the other 3 dick faces, Rickards, Sholem, and Shipton, actually appeared as witnesses, and they all stated that they had, quote, group sex with Louise, and that it had been,
A 13-year-old.
consensual.
So it's still statutory rape. I mean, I guess I don't know the
their
laws in
laws.
New Zealand, but
Oh my fucking God.
It
That's
must be
horrific.
statutory rape. I mean, it must
she's
be.
13.
Yeah.
Well, what happened next?
The unnamed officer was acquitted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But this was just the beginning of a lengthy and complicated set of even more investigations and more trials. So the year after the acquittal of unnamed Officer 1, Internal Affairs assigned a different detective to look into Detective Dewar's handling or fucking mishandling of this case,
Ah, yes, another cop.
suspecting that he had failed to properly investigate Louise's claims.
You don't say.
And indeed, it appeared that Dewar had committed a range of violations of procedure, including at one point denying that Louise had ever named these 3 additional officers in her
for
initial
God's sakes.
complaint, and calling on the phone 2 of those officers to discuss the case in between the first and second trials.
Cool.
Oh my God.
Giving you a call to give you a heads up.
Yep.
They're kind of saying some stuff like this.
Yep.
Oh.
Careful. Careful
Uh-huh.
out there.
However, the detective investigating Detective Dewar also discovered that at some point between the first and second trial, Louise had signed a statement saying that the sex with the officers had been, quote, consensual. So she signed some document in between all this legal wrangling, some document that Detective Dewar asked her to sign.
So that was snuck in there. She didn't understand, I don't think, what she was signing.
I don't think so
my
either.
God.
But
It's like hiding stuff in a giant bill.
Mhm. She claimed that she had not written this statement, but had agreed to sign it in order to help Dewar out because he was under pressure at work following the mistrial. So he was like, oh, I'm in a lot of trouble because of this mistrial because I said this hearsay stuff. You know, can you like sign this? Help me out.
But you don't know whether she knew what she was signing?
Well, she didn't agree with what she was signing. I don't think that she knew what she was signing, but I also was not in the room. So I just think that Louise is more credible than fucking Dewar.
Right.
Basically. And her story had always been the same except for this one document.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's not making sense.
So the investigating detective concluded that this document destroyed Louise's credibility and any chance of a successful trial against the remaining 3 officers, and he recommended that any pending charges against them be dropped.
Wow.
Then, in 2005, so her rape, I think, happened in 1983 or 84.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Then in 2005, Shipton and Sholem were arrested along with 3 other men and convicted of raping a 20-year-old woman in Mount Maunganui back in 1989.
Jesus.
I mean, at least
they were convicted for that.
They were convicted for that, but that's got to be really tough for someone who sought justice and never got it to see.
It gets worse.
Of course it does.
So this conviction resurfaced the decade-old allegation that Louise Nicholas had made, and in 2006, while serving prison time for this 1989 rape, Shipton and Sholem, along with Clint fucking Rickards, were finally charged with her rape. So finally, these 3 others are being charged. The first guy was acquitted, so he can't be charged again. You know, he had 2 mistrials, and then on the 3rd trial, he was acquitted, so he's off scot-free. But now, finally, in 2006, she
is
gets
getting her day
in court against these other 3.
Mm-hmm.
But in accordance with New Zealand law, it was forbidden for the prosecution to mention at trial that 2 of the men were already convicted rapists serving time for a, quote, unrelated crime.
Oh, unrelated. Okay.
I feel like if it's the same crime,
then it's not,
and it's the same fucking time period,
it's not
unrelated.
It's fucking related and relevant.
Jesus.
Like if you're like, this person is a serial bank robber.
Right.
They're on trial for bank robbery. We can't mention that they've ever robbed a bank.
Mm-hmm. Woof.
I don't fucking get it. So, lots of women's rights groups in New Zealand protested this suppression order of the fact that these are convicted rapists on trial for another rape. And they distributed flyers and posted online about these previous charges against Shipton and Sholem. And ultimately, I don't know if that organizing worked or if they were allowed to mention these other convictions at trial. I don't think they were.
Mm-hmm.
And all 3 men were fucking acquitted.
Oh my God.
Wow.
Ugh.
So then, the following year, in 2007, Shipton, Sholem, and Rickards were charged with another crime from 1984.
They just work as a trio, don't they?
Uh-huh. Kidnapping a 16-year-old girl in Rotorua and, quote, indecently assaulting her with a whiskey bottle.
Oh my fucking God.
But none of this is a pattern, so
Yeah.
we should
But
just
it's probably not
related.
relevant.
Yeah.
Well, they've already been acquitted for Louise's case, so they can't.
Yeah.
It's done. This case against for the case against the 16-year-old girl, all 3 men were acquitted.
What the fuck is wrong? What?
Uh-huh. After this trial, suppression orders were lifted and the previous crimes of the 3 men were widely covered in the media. So they're not going to prison
But
for
they're
these
being
crimes.
eaten alive by the public.
Right. Including by fucking us. Fuck all of you.
I don't care if they were eaten alive by the public.
I don't care either. I'm glad. This is the closest thing to justice these people are fucking getting. They should be smeared everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
No, I'm saying it's not enough.
It's not
Right.
enough. Right. In 2007, so at this third fucking accusation, Rickards resigned from his position with the police force. He had been suspended since 2004.
With
I don't know.
pay.
Probably. I don't know. The following year, he got his fucking law degree, passed the bar or whatever.
What?
And as of 2019, quote, the 58-year-old works as a lawyer specializing in criminal law and treaty-related work in Hawke's Bay, where he says he is, quote, living the dream with his wife and family.
Oh my God. Ick. Ugh.
I hope that his
serial
entire community knows what the fuck
brutal
he's done.
Gang rapist of children.
And now he's a lawyer. A criminal lawyer.
Then, in the final trial connected to this case, Detective John Dewar was arrested in 2007 after a new investigation was opened into his initial handling of Louise Nicholas's accusations. And he was convicted on 4 counts of attempting to obstruct or defeat the course of justice. So
Which I feel like should overturn the previous mistrials or acquittals and allow them to go back and actually properly prosecute for these crimes.
I don't think
like
you can overturn a mistrial or an acquittal.
Yeah, I don't think
The best you could get is a
yeah.
retrial, but that would be number 4. So, like, what are you hoping for?
Ugh.
I think with an acquittal, I feel like is pretty...
I don't know if they have the
Solid.
same double jeopardy laws, but if they do, then you can't.
It's just insane to me that if it's very clearly now come out that someone fucked over the trial, that there can be
Twice.
No follow-up on that sitch for the victim.
It was determined that he had made several attempts to cover up her allegations against his fellow officers, Rickards, Shipton, and Shullum. And the first guy. Dewar claimed in his defense that he, quote, strongly believed Nicholas to be lying and tried to bury her claims in order to protect her from perjury charges.
Oh, yeah,
he's
to
just
protect
looking
Protect
out.
her.
He's looking
Got
out.
it. Good. What a good guy.
Yeah. So Dewar served 4.5 years in jail for mishandling the case, which couldn't have been fun for a former detective, but fuck him.
Bye.
Bye. So through the course of this lengthy ordeal,
I didn't mean bye. I meant harera. I had to scroll back.
I meant
We got there.
I'm waiting for the hack.
Listen, that hack was amazing.
it was amazing. I literally cried.
It did kind of catch us
There's a
all off
fly in
guard.
here.
It cottoned us all off guard.
Okay, so Louise Nicholas became a widely recognized public figure in New Zealand, and many came to consider her the public face of this issue that, really had not gotten enough attention up until then. This was like pre-Me Too movement.
Right.
In 2007, Louise Nicholas was named New Zealander of the Year by the New Zealand Herald for her ongoing resilience over the course of numerous trials. And she eventually began working as a victim's advocate after realizing how intimidating the legal system was and how many people needed help advocating its fucking Byzantine fucking procedures.
Seriously.
She recalls, quote, I was inundated with calls from complete strangers asking for my help. Quote, is it okay to go to the police? How do I do that? What's the process like? Some people told me they wouldn't go to court because they saw all the horrible stuff that I went through. And I'll finish the quote, but just to add in here, she was just called like horrible names in the courtroom by the defense and like vilified in some parts of the press and called like a racist and a liar and hysterical and, crazy.
And being asked for explicit details about her rape and being accused of like enjoying it. Like it was consensual.
Just
In front of her loved ones.
In every worst fear. So finishing the quote, I thought, well, that's wrong. If I don't come forward, this cycle of sexual violence will continue. I wanted to make the process better. In 2009, she was given an official position as a survivor advocate who reports to a government task force on sexual violence. So basically the anti-rape wizard of New Zealand.
Great. Keep that on payroll.
Yep.
Well, in this role, she was given government funding to collect the stories of sexual assault survivors that she worked with and use her research to advise the government on how victims could be better supported by the judicial system, which is an extremely important job. She also became well regarded as like a media commentator on stories related to sexual violence. So according to one source, quote, when a story about sexual violence breaks, Nicholas is often the first person that journalists call. So she's a talking head. She's a household name.
Yeah.
Nicholas, who, when she first came forward with her allegations at 26, was described by many as shy and soft-spoken. She has since developed a reputation for being outspoken and refusing to couch her commentary in diplomatic or euphemistic language. So she wasn't like, I don't know. They weren't like
She's
sexual advance. It wasn't unwanted sexual advances. It was a fucking rape.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If she disagrees with a verdict in a case, she's been known to make statements to the media like, quote, this judge is living on planet dumb arse.
Amazing.
I like that.
In the words of one person who has worked with her, quote, there are people who would very much like her to stop speaking to the media and stop challenging the system. At times, she has embarrassed various ministries and officials, but Louise is an independent advocate. It's her right to say whatever she needs to say.
Yep.
But unfortunately, in 2020, the worst fucking year ever, Louise learned that she would be losing her government post as the national advocate for survivors of sexual violence. And I think it was literally just like fucking budget cuts.
Yeah.
Ugh.
She recalls her shock at learning via a Zoom meeting with the Ministry of Social Development that her job would no longer exist.
Oof.
If you're
Quote,
going to fire someone, don't do it over Zoom.
Well, I
it's
mean,
2020.
yeah, it was the beginning of COVID. There's
All right, I'll rephrase. Don't do it over a Zoom meeting with several other people.
Don't fire this person when this is such difficult work and she's so positioned to do it well and actually help people and it's such a fucking important topic and maybe we should cut other fucking spending.
like the wizard.
The wizard
Christchurch
the-
misogynist wizard.
He kept his job longer than this advocate for women's rights.
And so did the cops who raped her in the first place.
Uh-huh.
And the detective who fucked her over in three different
just
court
completely
cases.
bungled her case.
If anyone should lose their jobs,
Mm-hmm.
we can count 10 people.
Quote, this is Louise talking about her job being cut. Quote, I realized that they didn't want me around anymore. I burst into tears and just could not speak. My well-being started to go downhill. I thought, how dare they? The decision came after 12 years of having her work funded by the government and helping hundreds of survivors navigate the complexities of the judicial system. She went on to say, quote, sitting in that Zoom meeting, I felt like I had stepped back in time because many years ago, my voice was taken away from me and now they're going to do it again. I'd still love for MSD, which is the Ministry of Social Development, to turn around and say, you know what? You're doing an amazing job. Carry on. But I don't know that will happen. Still, Louise Nicholas hopes to continue her work in the future by setting up her own trust and seeking philanthropic funding and doing the work independently and through nonprofits. Because she is fucking tireless and amazing and a hero. And society failed her.
Can we write her a letter?
Yeah. We can.
I like her a lot.
I
Send her
know.
a Christmas card.
So thank the fucking fan picker for destroying our mental health.
Yeah. That's tough.
Fucking Gabby.
It's tough. Gemma.
Gemma.
I was like, who's Gabby? I'm just
You
going to
know
go
what,
with
Gemma? Now you're Gabby. That's how
Yeah.
mad at you we are.
it. Lucy knew something we didn't. You're Gabby now. Enjoy.
Sorry, Gemma. I like the name Gemma.
I know,
Well,
it's really cute.
My cousin's filthy child's name is Gemma.
Explain, Gemma.
Lauren's youngest. Her name is Gemma, and she's always just covered in like soot or chocolate or
She's super, super,
She's
super cute.
Where
So
is there so much accessible soot for
she's
her
always
to be covered in?
outside. She's feral. She's always outside getting into something. She's this tiny little girl and she has blonde hair and she's so cute, but she's always filthy. And the last family gathering we were at, Lauren was like holding a beer and like holding some other things. And
Doesn't
she
she
actually
have
like
4? Doesn't Lauren have 4?
Yes.
So
What?
the youngest of 4. So
She's the youngest of
she's
4.
on her own.
Yeah.
Complete. She
no
lives
one
outside.
has time for her.
Fending
This is
for
it.
herself, this
So-
little blonde girl in pigtails.
Lauren's
my
holding
God.
a beer and like trying to get something. She spilled some beer and Gemma happened to be standing like right under her and she got beer all over herself. And Lauren was like, she's fine.
And didn't Gemma go, I'm a mess?
Oh yeah.
Oh my God.
She ran up to her aunt, my cousin Jen, and she's just dirty as usual. She just goes, I'm a mess.
Yeah. Can
And you could
see
tell it's one of
that.
those things that everyone
Yeah.
just always tells her, you're a fucking mess.
You're a mess. She's like, I fucking
Oh
love
my
that.
God. I'm a mess.
I'm a mess.
I'm not well. Poor Gemma.
anyway,
Get her a bath.
so-
Get her a
Now when I
bathtub.
think of Gemma, I think of, I'm a mess.
Lauren's a
Wow.
great mom. She just has 4. There's a lot
Well, yeah.
happening.
I'm not.
Oh, she's a fantastic mom.
Yeah.
She's just very realistic, as we should all be.
Are you ready for my case?
I don't know. Is it a downer?
Probably.
It's not great.
It's a fucking downer. Yep, I'm ready.
Yeah.
I'm burning my loins.
It's fine. I mean, trigger warning, infant death.
Okay.
But
Great.
it's fine. I also just
Great.
thought, this case would be apropos of pending potential Supreme Court decisions
Yeah.
hot in the news right now here in the U.S. So,
Yep, definitely was feeling those feels.
yeah.
Yeah.
When
Yeah.
we picked and wrote our cases, for sure.
Yep.
I mean,
Yep.
this is just a very tragic picture of what withdrawing and withholding resources from people for reproductive health care can result in. So, it's what it's.
Okay.
So I am covering the story of Wilhelmina Dean, aka Minnie Dean. Minnie played her cards a little close to the chest and was pretty successfully withholding about her early years, once writing, quote, "Who my parents were or what they were concerns no one, although I have no doubt that problem has already been solved by the public to their own satisfaction." And it kind of had, so here's what public record is able
Is
to tell
she
us.
the bad person?
Yep.
Okay.
She was born in Edinburgh, Scotland in 1847. She had one sister and her parents were devout Christians. Her father was a clergyman and her mother died of cancer when she was only 11 years old. Left to care for the children alone, her father saw to it that they had a well-rounded education. I think that included boarding school where it was like, just, you gotta
It's like,
go.
I can't.
I can't do
I'm-
it.
I'm a single father. I can't do any
I can't
of
do
this.
anything. Yeah.
Which
Ship
is
'em off.
an old timey.
Mm-hmm.
Single dads today
Still
are
too much
amazing.
exists today in some cases of fathers getting like major accolades for like basic level parenting
Parenting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
on that binary. Anyway, so they both sisters got a great education, and Minnie was actually married off pretty young. I think she was like just 18 or maybe even 17. She had 2 daughters of her own in that marriage, but it's a bit murky what her life was like at this time or like where her husband ended up. Like she says she's widowed, but there's like no record of the first marriage to begin with. But this was the 1800s, so that's not actually like fishy. It just is. They were
So
like
maybe
they were married.
weren't officially married, or
I think
maybe
they were married
just separated and
I think they were married and they had kids and he died. And there just isn't a lot of available record to corroborate any of that. She's not like a husband murderer. So there's
Okay.
no reason for that to go,
to be suspicious.
to go unbelieved. So they ended up, so she moved after the husband died. So she's widowed now. She moved with her kids to Invercargill, New Zealand, to live with an older aunt who she referred to as Granny Kelly. And Granny Kelly helped her with the children, and they lived harmoniously together for several years until Minnie married Charles Dean, thus becoming Minnie Dean.
There's a
They
lot
did
of
not-
like cutesy names happening
Yeah,
here.
I know. That it's the only good part.
Granny Kelly, Minnie Dean.
So Minnie and Charlie did not have children of their own, but they did adopt a child in 1881. And Minnie's children from the previous marriage at this point were like old enough to basically be out of the house. I don't know if they were like adults, but they were at least boarding school age.
Okay, off on their own.
So the growing family moved to a 22-acre estate known as the Larches at East Winton.
That sounds really scary.
It is. And
Larches.
if you'd like to go to the drive,
Yes.
my pictures are terrifying, and don't scream or ask about one that I know you're going to scream or ask about yet. Like I just said,
I didn't scream, I
I didn't
gasped.
I
scream
know.
or ask.
but I can feel it coming.
I
'Cause
screamed
we'll get
silently.
to it.
I screamed
We'll-
inside my heart
we'll
and
get
also
to it.
outside my mouth.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
So seeing the growing need for childcare and the growing number of young mothers in the area who had no viable options when they became pregnant, Minnie started taking in babies on this like farm / estate.
Ramshackle.
But what was growing here really wasn't a child care facility or orphanage. It was a literal baby farm for profit.
Yeah.
Like
Oh my
vaguely
God.
shrouded as a care home and adoption center for illegitimate infants,
A baby farm.
which was like a thing, which we'll get to it. So
Yeah.
it wasn't long before authorities were looking a little closer at the Larches when in 1889, a 6-month-old infant died there only 3 days after going into Minnie's care. The baby had fallen ill while in her care, but the death certificate didn't list any illness, but a vague cause of death attributed to, quote, natural causes and convulsions. 2 years later, a 6-week-old baby died in her care, which sparked an inquest, but the death was once again ruled natural. Now, what she was doing was a legal business at the time, so they weren't going to shut her down for taking in babies and either caring for them for a fee or placing them for adoption for a lump sum. Like, this was a thing. This
That's
practice
how it worked back then.
Yeah.
Yep. This practice was quite popular in New Zealand at the time due to the social ostracism associated with having children out of wedlock. So despite limited means, Dean took in as many as 9 children at a time. But if the conditions of these baby farms were subpar, that's where authorities can intervene and shut down the business.
Right. And so far, 2 babies are dead.
Yeah,
So
exactly. So her business was profitable, so she couldn't have that. And after the deaths of these children, the police were watching her closely. So this is an excerpt from an article in like New Zealand history, their version of
Pocket
.gov.nz.
guide.
Yeah, probably. Quote, police had found that she had been looking for more children to take into her care and that she had tried unsuccessfully to take out life insurance policies on some of the infants.
you definitely don't want your daycare lady
Nope.
to take out a life insurance policy on your kid.
Yeah, well, and
No.
it's not daycare, it's like
Yeah,
foster, but yes,
But
it's
still.
it's just as sketchy as that.
It's not
Real
good.
It's not good. In 1892, Christchurch police took charge of a 3-week-old child that Dean had adopted from its single mother for 25 pounds. Police traced Dean to a boarding house and found the child in very dirty clothes and being fed from a bottle containing sour and curdled milk.
Oh, God.
The baby's mother said she could scarcely recognize her child as it had so altered for the worse in the 2 days that Dean had looked after it.
2 days.
The police thought that they had probably saved the baby's life. I'm sure that, they did. They remained suspicious and kept Dean under surveillance. And in 1893, the commissioner of police wrote to the minister of justice with renewed concerns about Dean's activities, end quote. Then in 1895, things escalated. Minnie was seen on May 2nd boarding a train with a living infant in one arm and a hat box in the other. But the guard who saw her board the train also saw her on her return trip with only the hat box, which train porters who assisted Minnie in stowing the box said felt suspiciously heavy. Concerned that the child with her had possibly been tossed from the train along the way, a team went looking along the tracks for several miles and found nothing. The train station guard alerted police to the suspicious incident, who immediately went to Minnie's home to poke around.
To the Larches?
Yes, to the Larches. Police almost immediately discovered shallow graves in Minnie's flower garden with infant remains buried within.
Oh my God. Was she like pathological and liked killing children, or was she just so negligent that like a lot died, but she was trying to make money?
I think it's mostly the latter. I think this was a woman who had no fucking clue what she was doing and found a way to like make quick, good money. But
and
then
if she couldn't place a kid and it was like draining the resources.
Right. Or I think she took in too many and she couldn't keep up.
And had like life insurance on it?
Right. I mean, I think, I don't think she unsuccessfully tried to take out life insurance policies. So that didn't work.
That scheme didn't work. Okay.
Correct. But
some aspect of this charade worked.
She's using human children for capital gain, and it's obviously not going well because she's not properly caring for them.
Jesus.
And we'll kind of get to it, but I actually don't think that it was pathological in the sense of I'm seeking out children to murder.
Kill. Right.
I think
that
it was
my question.
I think it's like a pathological level of negligence. She didn't give a shit about these kids.
She's
she just
a
wanted the money.
sociopath.
Exactly.
But,
that's my take on it. But
but was it sociopathic negligence, or was it fucking premeditated homicide?
Yeah, I think it's sociopathic negligence. I don't actually think she was picking up the children with the intent to kill them, because you can get like double pay if
she can get money by placing them.
Yeah, you get money for placing the child. If the child lives and they're in her care long term with the intention of returning to the parent, they're paying a fee for the child care. So like she's not going to make any money if the baby dies, especially if she's not successful in getting the life insurance policy. Now, if she had gotten those policies, I think we'd be having a different conversation. Right.
She was open to the premeditation.
Absolutely. She was looking into any way to make money off of these infant children. It's so sick.
God. And she was running this by herself. Like she didn't have she didn't have employees.
She didn't really have employees. Her husband, there are reports that like he did not support this and did not have anything to do with it, but he also didn't turn her in. He upheld it by just living on the property and not fucking doing anything about it.
Yeah, right.
So,
oh my God. Ugh.
So the remains were identified as those of Ava Hornsby, Dorothy Carter, and an unidentified toddler boy. Minnie and her husband, Charles, were both arrested, and the 6 ailing but still living children on the property were taken into foster care. And Charles ended up being released later without charges because it was like, she did it. It's like, okay, white man, have a nice day. Top of the muffin to you. Baby Dorothy was sold to Minnie at only a month old by her grandmother, who had met Minnie at a train station about 10 miles from Invercargill. So this is not uncommon. Like an unmarried young person has a baby
and they don't know what to do.
And they don't know what to do with it. And the mother of the pregnant person or the parent of the pregnant person is like, Grandma will take care of it.
We're going to find somewhere to put this kid.
Yep. We'll send you to camp for 9 months, and then you'll either have a baby sister, weirdly, or we make other arrangements.
Right.
Magically.
Yeah. So the police, this is a quote, the police theory was that she had taken the Carter infant, so baby Dorothy, on the train from Winton and changed trains to get to Lumsden. During the trip to Lumsden, she had killed the child and concealed its body in a hat box she was carrying. Staying overnight in Lumsden, she boarded the Waimea Plains train to Gore, where she then boarded the Dunedin Express. At Milburn, she met Mrs. Hornsby. This is another grandmother to an illegitimate newborn. So doing the same thing.
Yeah.
This is 2 grandbabies being turned over by their grandparents.
So why did she kill the first one? Just didn't.
We don't 100% know, but the cause of death kind of tells you. Leaving the hat box and its contents in a waiting room while she got the other child. She was accompanied by Miss Hornsby on another train to Clarendon, the next station on the way to Dunedin. She alighted with Ava Hornsby, the little baby, in her arms and waved goodbye to Mrs. Hornsby, who continued on to Dunedin. It is here where Ava Hornsby, the baby, was smothered. So maybe she was tucked in the hat box, like, we don't know.
But you're not suggesting it was an accident.
No. Dean wrapped her body into a parcel and boarded the train back to Clinton. So I think the only way it could have been an accident is if she was trying to conceal the child to get back on the train because she was like using her return ticket. And there were now going to be like multiple babies and not one. And then the baby didn't survive being wrapped up in linens and put in a box.
In a fucking.
But given her track record, it probably was not an accident.
Right. On the way, she picked up the hat box from Milburn, so the one she left in storage while she picked up this other baby. Now she's carrying 2 dead babies. She went back to Winton, end quote.
That feels like now we've moved on to she's just killing babies and collecting cash and not even
trying to place them. Yeah.
Right.
Coroner's reports determined that baby Dorothy had been killed with an overdose of laudanum, an opiate that at the time was commonly used to, quote, calm irritable infants.
Oh, so she wanted to just make it pass out so she could not have to deal with it on all of her fucking travels.
Right. So either she was trying to keep the child quiet and unconscious and that baby died accidentally, or both were intentionally killed
using laudanum
to do exactly what you said, take the lump sum, not have to spend any resources on these children and bury them in the garden when she got home.
Oh my fucking God.
Yeah.
Ugh.
So she was arrested and charged with murder, and her trial began on June 18th, 1895. Her defense counsel did their best to prove that the deaths had been accidental and that Minnie had been trying to cover them up because of the recent bad press surrounding her business.
Well, yeah, when you kill 2 babies and then you kill 2 more in the same day.
Starts to look like a pattern.
And
Bad
you're just
for business.
shoving infants in hat boxes on
the
trains.
Yelp reviews are not going to be good. Her lawyer, Alfred Handlin, later remarked that, quote, sober, home-loving folk from end to end of the country shuddered when the grim and ghastly story of Minnie Dean's infamy was narrated by the prosecution. Imagine a being with the name and appearance of a woman boldly using a public railway train for the destruction of her helpless victims, sitting serene and unperturbed in a carriage with one tiny corpse in a tin box at her feet and another enshrouded in a shawl and secured by traveling straps in the luggage rack at her head. And
oh, she put it in the overhead.
The hat box was in the overhead luggage rack.
Oh, God.
Yeah. The trial
That is one of the spookiest images I've ever.
Is it so scary?
I don't know why that's the worst part about this whole thing.
Oh, that quote
sitting
is horrifying.
calmly in the fucking train. Oh my God.
Yeah, it's so scary.
Please put your carry-on in the overhead compartment.
The trial was sensational, with folks flocking to bear witness, even going as far as to bring their own props to sell of crudely made baby dolls in hat boxes.
That's what that picture is.
Yep. We humans have always been harbingers of bad taste. And yes, there is a photo of one of these horrific hat boxes on the drive.
People made those and sold them to gawkers at the trial.
Yep. Can you fucking even believe it? I mean, in a way, that's the version of like every Netflix documentary that sells merch, but like, it's so much more horrific.
A little more visceral.
It's too on the nose.
Mm-hmm.
I think this case has the creepiest photos I have ever included on this podcast, so you gotta look at the blog. It's nuts.
Just these
Like her house,
Barefoot.
her
These
children.
like late 19th century black and white grainy ass photos are so creepy.
Yeah. And that the picture of that group of kids, the shoeless children, those are all the kids that were taken from the home on the day she was arrested.
So they're
Saved.
all okay.
They were saved.
Yeah, exactly.
One of them's called Baby Gray.
Mm-hmm.
Baby Gray.
All the names are so darling.
I
Ethel,
know.
Maud, Florence, Esther, Cecil, Arthur.
So
Baby
cute.
Gray.
Little baby. Prosecution was able to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that Minnie had intentionally murdered baby Dorothy with the laudanum, but were unable to prove that she was responsible for the death of baby Ava. Despite only one upheld and proven murder charge, Minnie was found guilty of murder and sentenced to death by hanging. Her final words were, quote, "No, I have nothing to say except that I am innocent." Which, well, she def wasn't, so.
To which I say,
Nope.
ha-da-da.
Yeah, fuck off.
I scrolled
Yeah.
up again.
She was hanged in Invercargill on August 12th, 1895, and maintains the macabre designation of being the only woman to be executed in New Zealand history. The death penalty there has been abolished for some time now. Her crimes led to the belated passage of child welfare legislation in New Zealand, the Infant Life Protection Act in 1893 and the Infant Protection Act in 1896. Her death also left a lasting mark on New Zealand and seeped into local folklore. It was said that nothing would grow on that 22-acre farm ever again, not so much as a flower. It's also rumored that no grass will grow on her gravesite. It's just like a dirty...
That's how fucking foul this soul is.
Yeah, it's just nothing can thrive anywhere near
Her
her.
remains are just like acid.
Cursed. Yeah.
Yeah.
She became the boogeyman of the Southland area, and parents would even threaten naughty children to behave or they'd send them off to Minnie Dean's farm where they'd never be heard from again. Which
All three of us
Lucy-
would. Yeah, Lucy would definitely threaten her
Oh, I
children.
would 100% do it.
Eat your fucking carrots, kids.
Next time I'm babysitting my nieces for any length of time,
Ooh,
and they're
tell
being
them the
naughty,
legend
I'm
of
gonna be
Minnie
like, "Have you
Dean."
heard about Minnie Dean and her baby farm?
Do you know how many hat boxes I have?
Come sit on Auntie's lap."
Oh my God.
I know
But
parents
yeah,
are so
maybe.
fucked up. I love it.
I love it.
Oh,
In 2009, a strange headstone was placed on Minnie Dean's grave, and I'm just going to go ahead and uphold that this was just mysterious and nobody knows who put it there. I could probably find out who put it there, but I didn't look harder. So it's a mystery.
Let's go with the illusion if it's more
Yep,
interesting.
We're going with the mystery. Apparently marked by an unrelated person, so just some rando. It reads, quote, "Minnie Dean is part of Winton's history. Where she now lies is now no mystery." It's like a little limerick.
Oh,
Weird.
She's in hell.
Mm-hmm.
Who would take the time?
Well, and if you look, the stone is like, first of all, that shit's
carved.
expensive.
It's really nice.
It's
Yeah.
really nice. It's a really weird picture because it's all zoomed in, so I can't tell.
There's a
the
new
scale.
mystery. Who fucking took the time to do this?
I love it.
Is it weird?
A philanthropist, that's who.
But yeah, that's my case. It just gave me absolute creep.
The hat box, man.
Shivers.
The hat box in the overhead. I can't.
This and the picture of her, she does look just totally calm. I mean, she is a fucking sociopath.
Yep.
She just looks like a totally normal lady.
The child that was rescued all the way on the far left is totally your eternally filthy niece,
Oh, she looks just
Gemma.
like Gemma.
Gemma. Baby
I'm
Gemma.
a mess.
I'm a mess.
The little dirty legs, poor thing.
Oh, God.
God.
At least they were able to rescue these other children, and I hope that they were placed in good foster families and
Yeah.
eventually permanent.
Yeah. She cared
families.
for a lot of kids over the course of the years that she ran this farm. Like, it's not like she's keeping meticulous records.
Right.
And these are all like kind of under the table. I'm just trying to figure out how to hide this from society transactions.
Right.
So some reports were like, yeah, she cared. Hundreds of children came through the doors. Some were like, I don't know, said maybe between 30 and 50 over the years. Either way, at least, 4, likely 6 children didn't survive her care.
Minimum. You got to think minimum. Because,
I mean, they did like peruse the grounds. They found the 3 remains in the garden. I don't think that there were other remains found. She had 2 children die in her care that were ruled
that were known.
Natural causes that were known. So that's 5 as far as we know.
2 more.
Yeah.
Because the babies.
These 2 babies were the remains found in the garden, plus a 3rd. So that's 3, and then the 2 known is 5. But so, I mean, it's not a lot. It's not a lot of kids.
Yeah.
It's just
It's
it's one of the creepiest cases I've ever researched, and I've made the mistake now of just like keeping the blog photo, the drive photos open, and the Hatbox fake baby is just staring at me, and it's really creepy and it's throwing me off.
Really, really scary.
It's so scary.
It's the scariest doll
Ever.
I've ever seen.
Ever.
It has horns?
I don't know.
It looks like one of those turnip carvings, kind of.
Yeah, the Halloween
the
turnip.
original jack-o'-lantern out of a turnip.
It totally does.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay, I can't look at it anymore. It's too
Sweet
scary.
dreams.
All right, well, that's great. And despite all of its horrors, New Zealand is a wonderful place.
Can't wait to visit.
When it's safe, everyone should visit. Okay, we love you all.
Love you. See you next week.
Bye-bye.